Okay, I think the responsibility of trying to cut down on the time comes on the last session, which is quite natural. So as he mentioned, we will try and cut it down to make sure that we are able to release everybody early, including ourselves. So this session, as was being mentioned, is one of the ills that the power sector is facing today. So you have on one hand absence of PPAs or paucity of PPAs and buyers, which is creating problems for the generators. On the other hand, you have the problem of fuel not being sufficient for meeting the requirement of the generators. So this is equally important. As important is the health of the distribution utilities. So I'll very quickly talk about what I think are the problems, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I think one of the basic problems that we are facing in fuel is the fact that we don't have a market for fuel. If you look at the domestic supply of coal or gas, we simply have no market. There are very few producers. In fact, in coal, we have a monopoly. We had a small market for captive coal, which has also been destroyed because of whatever has happened in the last 1 year. So the absence of market on the fuel side, absence of discovery of price of fuel in the domestic market, both for coal and natural gas, in my view, is one of the most important issues. And unless we tackle that quickly, and by embracing market reforms and going for a competitive play in these markets, unless we do that, we are not going to see any improvement in the fuel supply. Whatever fuel supply improvement you might see will be only sporadical and not by design. So I think that is first part. The second is, I think, another important point, and this primarily, I think gas as a fuel for power generation is simply something that probably we don't have to talk about in today's context, because the supply is so minuscule compared to the capacity, and the fact that at the prices at which gas is available, it does not get dispatched at all in the system. I think it doesn't warrant much discussion on the availability of gas and the condition today. On the coal side, I think the other important issue, in addition to the market reforms and making sure that we have competitive play in the supply chain, other important part that we need to think about is the efficient use of coal. We did a very brief, very broad or high-level calculation. What we realized was that we have in India about 15,000 megawatt of coal-based generation capacity, which has got a station heat rate of more than 3,000 kcal per kWh. Now compare this with the latest supercritical plants, which have got a heat rate of less than 2,300 kcal per unit. Just gives you the enormity of the inefficiency that is still prevailing in the existing power plants. All these plants, which are running at a heat rate of more than 3,000, have an age of more than 25 years, and we are simply running them because there is no restriction on using coal efficiently. So in the process, what we are doing is domestic coal, which is a scarce resource, where we are struggling today to meet the domestic demand, meet the demand from the power generators, we're actually using it at 60% of the efficiency compared to what we could actually use it in supercritical plants. In my view, that's a criminal waste of a scarce resource. So on one hand, trying to look at how we can create a market, competitive market for fuel supply, including supply as well as the pricing. And on the other hand, making sure that we mandatorily use coal in the most efficient way. I think in my view, these are the two things that we really need to look at. So now I'm going to invite other speakers to share their experiences.